Hello guys, glad to have you on board again. Today we're going to do a quick swing review just like we do on every Monday. I never expected to release something today, but I'll do it because we have things to talk about. So I'll do it quick, but I try to talk about the essentials. So first of all, cryptocurrencies are moving pretty erratically during the overnight session. So we've been breaking out the previous week's low, which definitely wasn't part of the plan. So that might be changing things. In the same time, BTC dominance is heading to the downside. So it's very complex to deal with the nearby area. I personally really don't know what to do with it, so I'm closely following on the trades I've been putting in motion. So far they're not the worst case scenario because I've been picking the least bearish asset in the crypto sector, but what we have right here into Bitcoin simply is leading to potential invalidation from my previous scenario. So I would still require 2 hours to wait to be fully certain about it, but if we do handle this type of candle closes, I think things will be pretty much settled. So just to highlight, we're dealing with this technical area. It's not necessarily settled if we just close this candle, but I think if the next one really breaks below, then yes, we're probably done with this area. So I really don't understand why we're working so long in here. Normally this area is a low volume area, which means in here we rapidly reject prices either to the upside or to the downside. So volatility is in motion, but we shouldn't stay there very long. So I'm surprised. I was okay for a first bear trap. Now it doesn't really looks like it. So if you got into the trade, if you're taking a stop loss, then that's just normal. You knew it was dangerous. I've even said beginners shouldn't even go down there. All right. So please don't hold on to your trades in here. It's a very complex area, and so far, if it was to be bullish, I think the reaction would have been there so far. So recovering the 9K has been attempted, but so far it's a big failure. So the area is complex. It reacts in a pretty weird shape, as normally we don't do that kind of stuff. Like we don't oscillate into low volume areas. So I would say anyway, if you got into the speculative stop loss, then that's it, right? That's part of the game anyway. It was supposed to be a very tiny trade anyway. So I personally am still in, but I'm pretty I'm letting it go. All right, I don't know. I'm already ready to be stopped out on Ethereum trades. If it goes up, I'll be happy, obviously, but like I said, I don't expect much anyway from this trade. So if it goes up, I'm fine. If it goes down, I'm fine with that anyway. So it's noisy. It's noisier than what I would have expected, and that's mostly what I want to talk about. That really concerns me that we're trading this area, because we shouldn't, like I said. So if I have to review my plan, I will, though I'm still, in the current given time, waiting for further information, because I simply can't figure out what the fuck is going on with this. We're dealing with areas we shouldn't be dealing with, at least not so long. The BTC dominance still doesn't give us reliable information, so I don't know where the swing direction is right now. Market is still hesitating into areas where it shouldn't. The other thing I've been sharing with you guys yesterday was swing trade on the indices, taking right at the futures reopening. Oh, not at the futures reopening, but a couple hours later. Because I think we're going to have a bearish week on indices, not necessarily end of the world kind of bearish week, depending on what I've been stating on Twitter later last week. Maybe I haven't been doing it for the English guys, so I'll do it right now. The thing is that we're going to have a very dense political week. Not necessarily huge important catalyst in the economic calendar, but it's going to be huge regarding politics, because Democrats are moving on with Trump impeachments. There might be some other auditions. They will be public this time, which means people will hear about Trump's shit instead of being behind closed doors. So it might uncover some things. Obviously, Republicans, or most Republicans, or let's say the Trump fans, doesn't nearly give a shit about what's going to be said. It's just going to be lies for them and stuff like that. So no worries about it, but just be aware that some informations might be released, some of them might be totally irrelevant, some might eventually be. So it's just totally unable to control. So political context is going to be messy next week. Can have some revelations and stuff like that. So it's just totally uncontrollable. But on top of that, as it wasn't just enough, last week, I mean, I would say the end of last week just rang the bell on my personal radars into the fact that Michael Bloomberg is moving out and is doing it in a way that I tend to know, which is trying to sense public response. The simple fact that it is not manipulating, it is just targeting people specifically, right, like electors, throughout some news here and there, rumors here and there, and that's a typical political test, meaning that is hesitating to run for the Democrat primary. I think he definitely thinks about it, but the question is, he doesn't know if the timing is actually the right one. Meaning that Bloomberg is truly a financial person, just not like Trump. Right? Like I told you, Trump is a commercial asshole. Bloomberg is definitely a smart money type of guy. All right, he risk manage. So just like I would if I would like to run president, I would test the market first. Like I would go speculative and stuff like that. That's exactly what he does right now. So he's testing reaction, he's testing public reaction on how he would potentially be eligible. So it's really early at that stage, but all I can tell you is that I know how smart money thinks. I know how this type of guy thinks. I mean, I know how their psychological profiles will put things in motion. They're simply not going to go Trump way, like going both feet in, big mouth talking and stuff like that. It's definitely not how this will work. These guys will test. They put a finger, they just dip a toe to test the temperature. The temperature is right, they'll rise. All right, so it just keeps open door. The thing is that it's been signing up last week. At the end of last week, it was the last minute to sign up for potential primary candidature. So now he can still be candidate. That doesn't mean he officially released the information. It probably keeps that for further information. So like I said, he's probably testing the public right now. So the thing is in here, what really concerns me, not concern, actually I don't give a shit about the presidential election. All I can tell is that the problem right now that I've been seeing throughout the electors in the US is that a lot of people are willing to put Trump out of office. Even some people who voted for him. The thing is that most of them just are facing a huge problem. They say, I'm not convinced by the Democrats facing him, which means I'm ready to vote against Trump. Definitely I am, but I would like to be convinced by the opponent. And that's something that is lacking so far, because the Green New Deal from Bernie Sanders, yes, a lot of people are willing to like those things, but most of the low wages in the US don't nearly care. They care about their own personal problem, not the planet and stuff like that. So they feel like, all right, if he's elected, that's fine. But I mean, I would like someone to care who cares about my personal problem rather than the planet. So, all right, selfish stuff. I don't judge. It's just some people think it that way. I respect that. I mean, everyone can think whatever the fuck he wants. But the thing is, those guys. Some people don't really fancy Bernie Sanders because probably he's freakingly old and he's got health issues so far. So some people just don't want to vote for a president like that, and that's understandable. Some people don't really feel like the Green New Deal is a top priority. All right. Some people fear they might be driving the U.S. into socialism. All right. So obviously. And Elizabeth Warren, in the meantime, so unless Joe Biden would be rising again from ashes, which is still possible, right? Like, things are really complex. It's not because you're down that you're going to be down all the way through it. And only the election day will make it, only the guy who makes it through the election day will win, and the others will face. So even if you're top in the pollings, just the day before, if you lose on the actual D-Day, then there is another problem. So until further notice, Joe Biden's weak and so far not recovering. His seats have been taken by Elizabeth Warren so far, but a lot of people are really not into her for other reasons. I don't really like that, and that, you know what I think about it. But I mean, some people just don't want a female president. That's how it is. I mean, I'm not, that's just a fact. So some people just don't like that. It's obviously not my personal biases, but I'm just relating stuff in here. So the problem is Elizabeth Warren as an opponent for Donald Trump, she's polling to be losing, which means, all right, it's not even about her ID, the fact, her IDs, her project, or whatever, the fact she's a woman, all right? It's just polls are giving her losing facing Donald Trump, and not by a tiny bit. She is among the Democrats the one that will lose the most versus Donald Trump. So that's a problem. That's a huge problem because the Democrats wants to put a candidate that can win, not just a candidate that gives good ideas, all right? And that's where Bloomberg might be a game changer, because Bloomberg has been given so far winning Donald Trump on all the pollings I've seen. So all the polls I've seen is winning, and is winning large on some of them, which means he can be the Democrat candidate to beat Donald Trump. And that's the rhetoric he's trying to put in motion. So I don't know who's behind those pollings, but I can tell you that he's probably not a stranger in those things. Like I said, he's testing public reaction. But yeah, I would say I see a picture in here in which this guy can be a game changer. So I just keep an open door and watch out for this, because I think as he started putting some things in motion last week, there is a lot to be uncovered this week as well. So is he going to go public with his candidature or not? It's still pretty early and very speculative. But all I can tell is that I know how this guy thinks, and is assessing things right now. If he does run, we'll know by the end of the week. Or at least we'll have way more information suggesting it is very likely pending. So it's something I'll watch out for. Right? That's what I said. So watching out for both whatever will be uncovered from Trump's shit from the Democratic Congress, whatever is uncovered by the investigations, because now there'll be public hearings. So a lot of things can be putting a lot of dirt on Trump. So I'm watching for this and how the market may react to this. And I'm closely, like I said, watching at how Bloomberg is acting during the next few days. So I think anyway this should put a stop point to our current rallies, so heading toward very likely retracing areas. So you can do easy, all right? Like normally we're targeting the 23% fib retracement. The first intermediate level will be the 14.6. So I suggest you put this one into your charts just so you have it. So let me grab the market top. All right, here it is. Let me just put the 14.6. All right, so that will be first target for this week, which would be closer to 13 points on the German DAX. That's a maximum, meaning that when we go there, you make sure you profit take. SPX will be the same game. You do the same thing, picking top to bottom. It's complex to do in here, so I'll do it from this area. Even if I think Wall Street can be significantly more bearish in this game, but that's what we're going to be talking about later. So that will be, no, I don't think this one is significant. Could be, all right, but that's the first area to eventually target for Wall Street, 3060. All right, like an area for intermediate profit taking. But I would say what we're dealing with right now is still, like, if you're having a look at the German DAX, where we're tracing down this bottom, which is August 1's. Damn it. Yeah, August 1's, sorry. And in Wall Street, August 1's is this one, so we should retrace normally the same things. It's just structure has been a little bit different in the US. All right, yeah, this sounds much more like what I'm targeting. So 30.50 is an area in which you really want to partial profit take in there. It's a risk limit, all right? So that's my maximum target for this week. These are just like trades to get in, profit take partially, and keep the rest of the trade for further targets and longer periods. I'm just trying to profit from the daily, from the weekly cycle. All right, so what I'd like to see for next week is a bearish engulfing, like breaking the previous week's low, which is breaking below 30.64, right? So breaking down this level, potentially, like I said, going 30.50, eventually a little bit lower, probably no more than that. And we'll see. Worst case scenario, we close the week at the lows with volume, all right? And that will be probably giving us another triangle, which means another weekly signal with a squeezing momentum. So, all right, that's a tough signal to trade, but I'll take it. Well, then what else? So I'm still trying to pick that scenario, right? So it's still harsh to trigger, but I think when we'll have that thing, normally it's an 8 to 12 weeks bearish cycle. So normally 8 to 12 weeks to the downside afterwards. So most of those weeks, like the first 3 to 4 weeks, are generally ranging, which means we're oscillating in here, and just the 4 to 8 last ones are generally the one trending, like the one really breaking supports and stuff like that. So don't be too aggressive at the moment, and moreover, don't be foolish. That doesn't mean a bearish cycle has to crazy go bearish. It can, and I believe it probably will, but it needs catalysts to do so. And if we have nothing to deal with, like I said, we've got 8 weeks in which anything bad that happened can have bad consequences on prices if we start this motion, like if we finally start this weekly bearish cycle. But if we got absolutely no good news and just a set of good news, like we've got a deal, we've got stuff like that, and if we do have it, then we can have some support holding, and we can just spend the entire weekly cycle flat. So in that same perspective, the thing is that I'm looking at the VIX as well, and I doubt the VIX has much room. So remember that we've got an expiration coming out of the 20th of November, so next week. So it still leaves us 1 week and half a week to get through expiration, and a lot of things can happen. I guess just like I told you, it's totally subjective, because things that can be market movers are unpredictable. They are political, and they are related to whoever is going to say what, whoever is going to do what, and that is complicated to anticipate. So if things were about to roll over out of control, which is a possibility, I still think there's a structure below it. So what I care about is how we deal with the 15 area in the VIX. Are we just going in there and retracing, which seems to be the most probable thing? Like I told you, the ranging context in which we start to rise a little bit of risk, of cover, and ask for cover in the VIX, but probably no more than that, not panicking yet. Option number 2, we really have a market panic, like market makers having to readjust, because let's be honest, most of them have been pricing in Trump being re-elected right now. So the problem is, if these things are changing, and let me be honest, I think Bloomberg is really a changer in here, not necessarily to the downside. I never said bringing a Democratic president will necessarily cause a crash. All I'm saying is that it might change things. So as we're pricing in for the best, like we're going to have Trump, now he's going to be skyrocketing the government expenses, like it's just going to keep on deficit and deficit and deficit and deficit. And anyway, the money will go to the same old people, like credit taxes or tax cuts and stuff like that. So it's obviously the best case scenario for some people to have Trump at the office, because yeah, he's making the poorest poorer and he's making the richest richest. So that's the problem. And Trump might have been good so far, but it's been profiting from a good momentum. So it's not necessarily that Trump is the best president ever. It's just Trump has been taking the best economic conditions that a president ever had when he took office, and he just managed to make it overheating. So like I said, it requires a little bit of magic to take a very good condition and make it even better. It really requires a lot of work, and let's me be honest, all right? The Trump thing with the tax plan, even though it was the absolutely worst timing to do so, it managed to hold pretty long so far. I never thought it would be lasting that long. So we clearly have overheated US economy, and I think that will have some significant consequences later, but until then, it's been holding pretty well. So just like I said, I could be right or I could be wrong. I think Trump's tax plan has been very badly timed in because it's been creating a huge deficit for the US, which means now we're down the corner, it can do nothing else. But it's been working so far. The question is, how long will this boost work it out? That's the question I'm really wondering. Because if we start going down, we'll start asking question whether it was actually rightly timed in, or if it was just stupidly timed in, like just overheating the economy, just like I think. We're going to ask a question about what's been done. So, just like I said, risk upon Wall Street, that doesn't mean things will obviously trigger right now. It's just I think we're in a range. We're bracing for the best. And I think right now just a little bit bad news could really impact the market. So have a look at that, bear that in mind, but I think we can take some bearish trades and risk manage them. So just like you see, China has been going down significantly. I think Japan as well. So yeah, I think there's pretty a lot of room in the US, at least to take a bear trade and risk manage it. It's not about time to take it right now. It's too late. Like I told you, it was yesterday evening you had to take it. I'm closely watching at the gold and dollar pair right now, obviously, because this might be a game changer. Just look at the DXY with 50% retracing, and if we get to reactivate bearish in here, which I think is likely, we would be 4-hour chart accumulating, which I got them like, because remember, I'm waiting for this chart to break down. So if we go there without going to the opposites context, which means we'll be ready to break 4-hour charts. Like going in here, be ready to, bam, accelerate and break down the 97. Of course, if we have that, cannot be done without a bullish gold. So that could be a good sign that the gold might be reactivating. So I'm waiting to see how this area reacts. We're in a volume area. We've got everything we need. So we can dip higher, all right, without problem. But if we do, then we'll try to accumulate in a daily chart instead, meaning that we're trying to reach out for the resistant trend channel, but in the daily chart context. So I don't yet know which one is going to be 4-hour breakout or daily breakout, but all I can tell is that I'm looking at the DXY, though I'm looking at the gold. I'm also looking at the yen pairs and stuff like that. So all the dollar, GBP, Euro, USD, GPY, I'm looking at all of them most likely in a dollar vision than their opponent currency. Obviously having a look at the WTI as well, not for a bullish trade on this one. I'm looking for a bearish trade, but not right now. I'm waiting for slightly higher prices, or either we have a weekly bearish confirmation in here. Like if we really go down, that would be interesting, but so far, I mean, it's just early trading for this week. But I'm monitoring, all right? I'm monitoring this thing. What I'm also monitoring is Tesla. I think I'll eventually take a bear trade, a typical range trade, but I would like to get risk management, which means we had this exit in here. It's been totally blown out. Now we're dealing with an interesting price area within a ranging context, right? So this area is of interest, but I've got no risk management. So I'd like to find one, and if I do find one, like in this area, I'll be fine taking the trade. So I'm looking for reversal trades. So 4-hour typical signals, and yeah, okay, we just got the TP, the taking profit, so I need a little bit more than that. Now I need something in here, and most likely I need a red triangle. So I'm looking at this, probably going to trigger a Tesla trade. Tiny trade, obviously, because remember this one, I don't nearly figure new lows right now. Like I think more likely just digesting in this area. Sometimes of pullbacks, like selling to profit take, probably $280, no more, no less. So no big targets, no longer swing trades on Tesla. Oh, yes, it will be swing trades. I'm willing to take this trade and hold it for as long as necessary, but I'm not targeting new lows anymore, right? Apple, obviously, we're into the activation area for my trade. I think that I need a little bit more clues, so I'm not going to go right in here. I'm going to wait for a reversal, daily reversal structure in here, but I'm closely monitoring current prices. Microsoft, they're trying to take down stop losses, but I doubt they will actually succeed. So I'm looking at a potential Iceland reversal structure building itself in here out of the weekly chart, which means I'm closely monitoring. I will gonna work out this area because I sincerely think that an Iceland reversal can show up. Now, pretty much just the ugliest trap ever. Like, we go there, we don't find enough bulls, we go here, bearish gap the day right after. If this thing happens, if we make an Iceland reversal, it can be damn sure I'm going to reinforce immediately, but not at the moment. So all I'm saying is that I'm putting an alert in here just in case, but whenever we cross these prices to the downside, it could be really, really important. So just post it somewhere. If you've got a bearish gap on Microsoft, validating the Iceland reversal, I think this is the trade of the decade, because this one, if it does Iceland reversal, might have the ugliest reversal ever. And like I said, we're heading below $100 for this value without problems. It's pretty overvalued, and it's still a good company. All right, they're not going to zero. They're just gonna lose valuations to go to more attractive prices. Same thing goes with Facebook. So I'm looking at all the US big names because they all pretty badly orientated, and I'm ready to reinforce most of them. So I'll be ready to reinforce Facebook. I'm ready to get back in Tesla. I'm ready to get back at Apple, and eventually reinforcing Microsoft, but only on some specific conditions. Otherwise, I just let go with Microsoft ongoing trades. This one is dangerous, so I definitely don't want to reinforce too early. It's just if we get the Iceland reversal, I'm in. All right. Otherwise, I'm waiting for breakout trades. I'm also looking at Boeing, who is freakingly ready for a breakout. 2 years of accumulation, an ugly, ugly structure in here, which is a diamond reversal. So as we reverse this one, the first time we break a support can have a significant reversal impact. So going in down those supports can be really dangerous. And like I said, we're not talking about 10% drops. We're talking about 30 to 40% drops on those big names. And this one, you know how freakingly huge it's weighting in the Dow Jones. It's pretty much like 7% of Dow Jones. So if this one goes down, Dow Jones goes down, and it doesn't go tiny down. All right, so I'm looking at this whole thing. I'm not over bearish, just like I said. Anytime the VIX gets close to 15, be cautious, partial profit take and stuff like that. All right, it's not about time to be end of the world kind of bearish. Just I think our timing is showing up, and we can speculative trade. So reversal trade first, then range trade. You know the drill, right? Early beginners, you certainly don't try to make any reversal trade. You wait for them to validate, and you'll try to catch the pullback following right after. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Bye, guys.